Have you ever seen someone fumble so badly you almost wished you could unsee it? I'm not talking about a slow fade from the spotlight, I'm talking about a full-on supernova-style implosion. Today, we're diving headfirst into one of the most fascinating self-sabotage campaigns in recent Hollywood memory. A story of how a promising young talent went from being hailed as the next big thing to becoming the poster child for everything people seem to dislike about modern Hollywood. So grab your popcorn, because we need to talk about the utterly bizarre downfall of Rachel Zegler, the girl who had it all. For a second, our story kicks off in New Jersey, where a talented theater kid named Rachel Zegler was busy doing what talented theater kids do, starring in school plays, honing her singing voice, and of course, starting a YouTube channel to cover her favorite movie songs. Pretty standard stuff. But then in 2018, the legendary director Steven Spielberg appears. He was casting for his remake of West Side Story and specifically looking for authentic Latino talent. Zegler, then just a teenager, threw her hat in the ring. And not just her hat, her entire being. She beat out a staggering 30,000 other hopefuls to land the iconic role of Maria. Let's be clear, that is an insane achievement, the kind of break most performers spend their entire lives dreaming about. The film itself, while critically acclaimed, didn't exactly set the box office on fire. But that didn't matter for Zegler. She had arrived. She won a Golden Globe. Her name was on everyone's lips, and Hollywood's biggest doors were swinging wide open. The path was clear. She was young, talented, diverse. A perfect storm for modern stardom. What could possibly go wrong? Well, as it turns out, almost everything. The Oscar fiasco. The first real sign that Zegler might not be playing by the standard Hollywood handbook came during the 94th Academy Awards. Despite West Side Story being up for several awards, its star wasn't on the initial guest list. Now, there are a million logistical reasons this could happen, but Zegler didn't see it that way. Instead of having her team handle it behind the scenes, she took to social media to publicly air her grievances. The result? A wave of public support that essentially guilt-tripped the Academy, not just into giving her an invite, but a presenting gig as well. On one hand, you have to admire the sheer audacity. A 20-year-old newcomer basically lecturing the most powerful institution in Hollywood about her own importance. On the other hand, it was a move that reeked of entitlement, a theme that would, unfortunately, become a recurring motif in her career. The I Needed a Job tour. Hot off her Oscar victory by social media, Zegler had landed a role in Shazam! Fury of the Gods. A solid, if uninspired, choice for an up-and-comer. It's a paycheck, it's blockbuster exposure, you do the press, say you love the craft service, and move on. But Zegler seemed to have missed that last memo. During the press tour, when asked what drew her to the world of DC heroes, she responded with a now infamous line, "I needed a job, I'm being so serious." Yikes, but look, is she wrong? No, actors act for money, we all know that, but it's one of those things you just don't say. It was like she was actively trashing the very movie she was being paid to promote, a movie that was only the second major role of her entire career. It was a bizarrely ungrateful and unprofessional moment that left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. Unsurprisingly, Shazam 2 flopped hard, marking the second box office bomb on her short resume. The Snow White apocalypse. But those were just the appetizers. The main course of this career demolition feast came when Zegler was cast as the lead in Disney's live-action Snow White. This was it, the role that was meant to cement her as the next Jennifer Lawrence, a generational talent leading Hollywood for decades to come. The problem? With this massive platform came massive attention. People were finally listening to what Rachel Zegler had to say, and boy, did she have a lot to say. During the press rounds, she came out swinging, not at the evil queen, but at the 1937 animated classic itself. She repeatedly called the original prince a stalker and bragged that the new Snow White wouldn't be saved by a man. She talked about how the new version was made for modern audiences and how she found the original scary and had only watched it once. She came across as arrogant, dismissive, and utterly disdainful of the very legacy she was now a part of. It was one thing to want to update a character, it was another to smugly tear down a beloved classic in the process. To many, she became the living embodiment of everything they disliked about Hollywood's current trend of creatively bankrupt, modernized remakes. The backlash was immediate and volcanic. It was a social media firestorm so intense that it made the Brie Larson Captain Marvel controversy look like a minor squabble. Disney panicked. first. They delayed the movie by a full year, reportedly to let the PR nightmare die down, and allegedly sent Zegler on a carefully managed apology tour to try and soften her toxic public image. The unforced errors continue. For a moment, it seemed like it might work. Her role in The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, was met with a generally positive reception, which helped create the illusion that she was still a bankable star. But the problem was, the damage was done, and Zegler couldn't seem to stop herself from making it worse. When the first trailer for Snow White finally dropped, it was met with overwhelming negativity. Instead of laying low, Zegler took to social media to thank her fans, and then, for reasons known only to her, decided to wade into the complex geopolitical conflict between Israel and Palestine. Because, naturally, when you think of experts on Middle Eastern politics, you think of a 22-year-old actress who has never held a job outside of Hollywood. The backlash reignited, and this time Disney reportedly had enough. They assigned her a social media manager and even had a producer personally fly out to ask her to take down the post. Her response? She refused. This is a level of defiance that is frankly stunning. You can only afford to be that much of a headache for a studio if you are a proven box office drawing titan like Tom Cruise or Leonardo DiCaprio. Zegler, with a resume of flops and one minor success, had nowhere near that kind of capital. She was trying to play a royal flush with a pair of twos. The inevitable crash and burn. By the time Snow White finally limped into theaters in March 2025, its fate was all but sealed. It became one of the biggest box office bombs in Disney's history, hemorrhaging hundreds of millions of dollars and getting savaged by critics and audiences alike. Zegler had bet her entire career on this film's success, and she lost in spectacular fashion. So what do Tim's the fallout from all this? To put it bluntly, it's not good. Rachel Zegler now has an incredibly toxic public image, a reputation for being difficult and unprofessional behind the scenes, and no major box office successes to her name. She currently has no major film or TV projects on the horizon. She seems to have retreated back to the theater, which is a respectable path, but a far cry from the A-list superstardom she was being groomed for. Could she make a comeback? Maybe. Hollywood loves a good redemption story, but it would require a level of humility, self-awareness, and frankly, a long period of just being quiet that, in my opinion, she has yet to demonstrate. Talent will get you in the door, but it's character, professionalism, and a basic understanding of how not to alienate your entire potential audience that keeps you in the room. She was handed a golden ticket and through a series of baffling, self-inflicted wounds, managed to set it on fire. She didn't just crash and burn, she meticulously built the bonfire, doused it in gasoline, and lit the match herself. And in this case, she really has no one to blame but herself. What do you guys think? Is this a fair assessment, or is Rachel Zegler just a victim of online hate mobs? Is there a way back for her? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the wild world of Hollywood.